Hi, it's Kiffin Lebates here, and this evening Anthony Day asked me the question, what drives the value of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? Can they be evaluated in the same way as, for example, company stocks? So I think first we need to take a step backwards and ask the question, well, what drives the price of anything? And the answer there is, it's a marketplace. Now, you have things such as goods in shops, which have prices that are set by the company that is selling the item, and they have discovered what for them works out as a good price. So if you take something like a can of Coke in a shop in Finland, they have a pretty fixed price unless you're trying to buy a can of Coke in a concert, for example, or at a hot sunny beach. Then they inflate the price, but generally speaking it's fairly fixed. And I think this is one of the things, as sort of average people growing up in the West, we get used to fixed prices in shops. But of course, for the majority of human history and for the majority of trade, that's not how prices are discovered. It's done through marketplaces, through people offering to sell something and people offering to buy it, and the two eventually reaching a point where they're both happy with the deal and it happens. And when you actually start looking at things like stocks, then this everyday experience that we have goes out the window, because now the prices are fluctuating up and down all the time. Nobody's really 100% sure what the value of a stock in a company is, or what the value of a cryptocurrency is. We're all just guessing at it, but as a crowd we settle on a price, and then some news comes in, or the sentiment of the people participating in the marketplace changes for whatever reason. It can be due to the tiniest little tipping point of one person selling off a big block, or one person buying a big block, and suddenly the price races off in a different direction. Now, there are all sorts of equations and theories that can be used. Some people analyze fundamentals, for example, of stocks. Other people just look purely at the technical charts, at the shapes and patterns that they think are there, that somehow reflect something innate in the way that crowds function. I think that cryptocurrencies have a lot in common with stocks, particularly stocks of companies that haven't yet delivered, where you're in fact investing in the potential future of the company, that you think they have a great idea. It's just that the world hasn't caught on yet. Now, the hope with things like Bitcoin is that their utility over time will get greater and greater. If they're already useful to a certain extent, for example, as a way of very efficiently moving large sums of value around from one end of the globe to the other at very low cost and very quickly compared to conventional banking. But for most people at the moment, something like Bitcoin has very little utility. It doesn't really serve a particular useful need. If you're buying and selling stuff with Bitcoin, often it feels a bit like it's just a game trying out this new technology that you hope one day will be worth something. So I would say that the value or the price of Bitcoin is very much like the value of, or the price of, a startup stock in a company that's suddenly taken off because investors have taken an interest and they think this company may be the next great big thing, the next Google or the next Apple or something like that. And when I was working for a tech company in the late 90s, I saw precisely that with the stocks of the company that I was working for. For no apparent reason, the company really wasn't that closely involved in dot-com style activities, but because it was a software tech company, due to the dot-com boom, the stocks in this company went up dramatically over a period of a few months, and then half a year later they collapsed down, not to reach that point again for I think it was 5 or 6 or 7 years. So that would be my take, Anthony, that the value of Bitcoin at the moment and the value of cryptocurrencies at the moment is very much like the value of early stage startups that have received some funding, are starting to see some traction, get some customers, and there's a feeling that this may be the next great thing. Maybe it won't, and the way that the sentiment swings from one to the other, and the way that crowds follow each other, either panicking because they're missing out or panicking because they think that the ship is sinking, is how the value of cryptocurrencies at the moment is being fixed on. Now, the question as to whether it'll settle down, well, I think we just have to wait to see what the future brings. It's the same with those very startup companies or those early stage tech companies that I'm talking about. You don't really know what's going to happen that's going to tip it one way or the other. Who would have known that conferencing software companies would end up making a mint because of a pandemic that's not predictable? If it hadn't have happened, they would have chugged along at a much slower rate, and I presume a whole bunch of them that have actually done very well in the last couple of years might have well gone under. So I hope that answers your question, Anthony, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.